So I just want to mention, like, Mo did the same session, I think maybe some months ago, 5 months ago, and I joined that, but I didn't know what to do and where to put those things.
Hmm.
So when you posted this session, I was so excited that yes, I can, work on it and I can show what I have learned so far. I would like
Brilliant.
to thank you to coaches and the Clicked community.
No, it's great. Great to see that. This is the beauty of Clicked, where if you come to the same session 2 or 3 times, it's always different, right? And you learn something very different, and you can build up
Right.
your knowledge. So it's great to hear.
So I will start my presentation. I don't have a script for it, but I will try to do my best here. So we are here for the Project Lifecycle Skill Challenge, and I would like to give you some overview that since our last meeting, we know that Slack has already implemented Salesforce for B2C side of their business. However, the B2B operation sides, they are equally interested in implementing Salesforce for them. So how things started was we met with the stakeholders, Ezra. We spoke to them. What are the current challenges they are facing? We came to know about their pain points. Like the data was fragmented. There was a lot of sales sharing the support users or the customers were doing, and there's a lot of automation we need. And also, different teams are not able to communicate properly with each other. We even observed the end users performing their day-to-day activities to gain a better insight that how their current system runs, and also studied any provided documentation or their current uh, business process maps if they had any. So moving forward from them, I would like to present my tasks, like how we gonna work on this implementation project and how we gonna cover it. So here are the things we took we're gonna take the requirements from the stakeholders. We're gonna validate and reiterate them back to them, each of them, and maybe break them down into short set of user stories. Also, drive a future state business process maps, which will show them how their new system would look and what are the gaps from the old system to the new system. And coming to the user stories, we would want independent user stories, which are negotiable and small and in testable. And me and my team, we are planning to write all those user stories and load them into Jira, uh, um, creating epics and different sprints. And I'll be working in coordination with the product owner and my development team, seeing which stories or which user stories we can complete in which sprints. And I would like to notify here, since we have already got a sign off on the we'll be getting the sign off on the BRD, which is the business requirement document, after validating all the requirements. So in case there are any changes, last minute changes, once we are into development, we would follow the criteria of documenting those changes, and again notifying everyone about the risk involved if it's the new change is gonna push us out from the our project timeline. So this is one thing I want to mention, so that we don't end up in any scope creep. So moving forward to the design phase, when we start our sprints, we are planning to prioritize our work. So as my team discussed, loading the data from your different systems, since you mentioned the data is fragmented through various systems, it is going to take a long time. So we are looking forward for 2 to 3 sprints on for this functionality. Also, our top priority would be creating reports and dashboards for your different member of teams, and the VP of revenue, Ezra. And since you mentioned there are still some contract processes that you want to change, it's still manual. So we will see if we can use a app from App Exchange or any out of box solutions or provided by Salesforce for the same. And once this is done, like after every sprint, we plan to follow, do the sprint retrospective and get your feedback, how far we have reached your expectations on this particular module. And once we build out the MVP, we would like your super users to test it. And definitely, we'll be providing the user acceptance testing scripts for the same. And if there is any feedback, good or bad, we would like to take it and work moving forward on that. after your feedback on the MVP. And if the stakeholder, you and your team, is happy with it, we would start going to deploy the changes. We'll roll it out to the live environment. And as discussed, we will be providing training for the users, since I know it's a new system and your team is all excited for the shiny system. But we'll make sure we provide enough training so that they can use it effectively for their work. And also, we would be providing you product support as mentioned in our SLA. So that will be done from our side as well. And I know you mentioned that your team is excited for the new system, but I would still prefer doing 1 or 2 sessions on adoption training, so that they know like what the new system looks like and how they can use it efficiently to meet their goals. And they can chat with their clients, take them out on a coffee. So that's all what we have planned so far, and
Amazing.
going
Thank
Brilliant.
live.
you, Jassat.
That's really clear. Thank you. That's great.
Yes, and that's the end. Thank you.
And this is the first time you've put this together.
Yes, because uh, the last session I mentioned, I wasn't able to even find out anything from those notes. It was for Red Cross America Society something. So I wasn't able to do, but now I know how to put things. And I did work on it yesterday, because today I didn't have time. So I worked on it yesterday and I did put in the different things in different sections.
Brilliant. Well, first of all, congratulations, because it's amazing, how far you come along this journey to be able to very clearly put the right things in the right parts of the process, right, along the 4Ds. So everything in there, I would not change, right? It's exactly where it should be. So amazing job, well done
Thank
on that.
you.
And what I'll do for the benefit of the audience, right? There's some really good stuff that you presented there. So I'm just going to pick on some of the slides and just go through those again, because there's been a few questions that have come up on the chat as well. So
Sure.
brilliant start, and I think it's a great presentation to kick off with, because there's so much learning that we can get from this. So if I can ask you, just for the benefit of all of us, if you can go back to the very beginning to the discover. That's the one, yeah. So let's start here. In terms of this slide, exactly what discovery is. It's about understanding the challenges, the pain points, um, meeting the stakeholders. You mentioned that you sat alongside some of the guys that were actually doing the role.
Yes.
Um, Again, there's lots of jargon we use in our business, but typically that's called a ride along. So you
Mm-hmm.
basically sit and have the ride with them, and you see how they do their job
Yeah.
and what process they follow. And the other big thing that I want to pull out from what you said is that you also, as part of discovery, ask them what they have today. What are the processes that they've got documented today? Because you'll save
Right.
a load of time if they've got it already documented, right, in terms of a BA. So I think there's some really good golden nuggets, we say, of um, learning that we can pick up from what you said there on the discover slide. So that's great. If you want to move on to the next one, I'll pull a few things on to that, which was around the define stage, right? So again, everything in that slide you see around what's involved in the define stage. You have a business requirements documentation, you gather your user stories, create them, you group them under epics. You might want to then even go down level and group them into sprints, logical sprints, get them validated with the product owner, get them signed off, and really lock those.
Right.
Because the other thing that you mentioned, again, jargon, we call it scope creep. And I think there was a question in chat from somebody, what does scope creep mean? Scope creep means that when you get to this point, right, you have an agreement with the client. This is what we're going to build and this is what we're going to deliver. And that's
Right.
what you're going to sign up for. Now, once you start building and getting feedback, the client might turn around and say, actually, no, you've got it all wrong. This is not what we wanted. We wanted not X, but we wanted Y. And in order to deliver Y, it could be quite a lot of effort from a developer's perspective, from
Right.
your VA's perspective. And therefore, the scope of the projects change, and therefore you've then got to re-estimate stuff. And it may mean that there's an impact on your project timeline, there's an impact on the cost, and there's an impact on the effort of your people. So clients hate it when you go back and say, there you go, there's a change request. That's the impact. And to avoid a lot of those discussions, which are quite difficult to have with a client because you end up always saying you're right, were you wrong, were we wrong, were you right, were we wrong? You sort of go in circles. To avoid that, I think you've made the point here is this is a critical stage of the project where you want to really lock down those requirements to say, have we got complete agreement before we
Right.
actually start to develop anything? So really good. I like this slide. A lot of good stuff in there. If we can move on to the next one very quickly, so we can give some more people opportunities. Design, again, everything you've got here would fit in the design stage, creating the MVP, UAT scripts, developing those, uh, you know, getting the thing tested. Those sprints typically end up with a UAT at the end and getting users to test and give you feedback. So all the stuff
Right.
we see here is really good. And then if we go into the final one, which was deploy, again, everything you see there today is everything that I would put in the deploy stage. Again, very, very important things there around offering training, making sure you
Right.
think about how you're going to train the people, setting the right expectations that people will need to be out of the business to be able to do the training. How do you support those people once they go live? Because once they're on the phone and they're taking calls on a customer service center, something goes wrong, who do they call? How do you support them? And how do you support the client, 2 or 3 weeks into deployment, and there may well be still some bugs and things might not be quite what they want, and how do you sort of get that cleaned up? So again, some really good stuff here. So to me, that's a brilliant presentation. You've basically covered everything that I would have in those four stages. Well done.
Thank you. I would say thank you. Thank you so much
Uh,
for your feedback. Thank you,
Fabulous.
Rachel.